must avenge you. No! Hey up everybody, Magpie Gaming here, and in this video we're going to go through the early access September update for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And basically there's a lot to get through with this update. It is a massive update, so I'm going to go through all of the points, but I'm only going to pick out the ones and talk about the ones that I think are quite interesting. There's a lot of boring ones that we're not really interested in, and there's some quite interesting ones that we might be interested in. So first of all, they start off by giving us an update on the vaulting mechanics that we're all waiting for to be implemented within the game. And they've said that they've produced an algorithm that will allow this to happen within the game, but because there are tens of thousands of objects that could potentially be climbed on and vaulted over within the game, it's going to take quite a long time and quite a lot of testing before this will be rolled out to the main game. They have said that they're looking to test it on the test server in early November, but they may bring it to the test server before then, just to give it a quick once over. So I'm thinking it's going to be like the CTE server on Battlefield 1, where they will add something, test it for a few days, and then pull it off and return it to internal testing. So yeah, it's looking like November before we'll actually see any of this working in the game, albeit in the test server anyway. So still working on it, we've just got to be a bit more patient. Next, they talk about idling players earning battle points. They've implemented rules that will now stop this from happening, and they will monitor and improve this system going forward. Quite how that works, they don't really give any explanation to it, but I think simply standing still won't earn you any points anymore. They then go on to talk about the first player servers. I mentioned in a video last week that they've added some duo first person servers to the OCE area. They are monitoring the amount of people using them and will eventually add solo and squad once they believe the player numbers are right for it. And then they say that the entire team is basically fully committed to getting this game out of early access before the end of the year, and they're looking to share details on the actual launch later this month. But again, ask for patience because it's just going to take time. Right, let's get into the nitty gritty of this patch. For client optimization, they've optimized shadows, improved performance on low-end PCs by optimizing buildings, optimized client and server performance when there are multiple vehicles in close vicinity, and they've optimized the UI. For the world, they are adding foggy weather. The foggy weather effects will hinder player sight on the map. This weather effect has a low probability to occur. In order to test the weather effect, the foggy weather will have a higher chance to occur during test server gameplay, but will be reduced for live servers. So it's probably going to come around as much as the rain does, which isn't that much. There's a lot of people pulling this apart at the moment, asking what kind of performance hit they're going to take when this fog is being used. Now for me, I might sound like a complete idiot saying this, but when you have the fog, you're not going to be rendering a massive draw distance with your PC. So does that mean that it's actually going to improve performance? Because you're just going to be rendering a white area so far back, so you're not going to be rendering any of the land behind that on your screen. So I might be a complete idiot saying that though, and it might have a massive performance hit. That's just something we're going to have to wait and find out once it's eventually released. They've enhanced the graphics of the sky in pre-existing weather effects and added a new town east of Stalber, so that'll be interesting to see what that's like. Stalber doesn't get used much. I was having a conversation yesterday, and it's one place that I've very rarely been to. Even rarer that the circle actually ends up there. So with a new town, does that mean that that will change? Could do, possibly, but it's part of the map that you don't really touch because there's not a lot there. But now it could become a viable option with buildings and obviously loot to have. For the UI and the UX, they've added a new option to change crosshair colour. That's a good one. That's one that I've been thinking that they should add for a while. Sometimes the white just doesn't show, and especially when you're going to be doing the foggy matches, white definitely isn't going to show. They've added a new double tap feature in control options for leaning, default keys set to Q and E, added a new option to improve the visual effect of going from free look back to the character's line of sight, added new keybinds when using consumables, teammates' names are now representative of their current postures, i.e. standing, crouching, prone, etc. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually represents that. I wonder if you're going to get like a little character to show it. Added a new keybind to mark your current position on the map, default key set to inset. Added a new keybind to center the map around the character's current position, default key set to space. Added a new keybind to use the consumables in the order of medkit, first aid kit and bandage, default key set to the dash key. Added a new feature to reset the zoning distance using mouse wheel click and adjusted the position of the report window. For new items, as I've spoke about in a previous video, we're getting a new gun. This is the Mini 14, a lightweight and compact 5.56 semi-automatic marksman rifle. This weapon uses sniper rifle attachments for both the muzzle and magazine slots and can take any type of optic sight. This weapon has lower damage stats than other DMRs, which is compensated by very high muzzle velocity and low bullet drop. It's going to be an interesting weapon to use. Hopefully it will spawn quite a lot. I don't think it's going to spawn as much as the AKs and the M16s, but as long as it's there to use quite often, I'll be happy with that. For gameplay, distance at which shadows are rendered are now synchronized across all graphic settings to ensure fair play. Characters who are knocked out while underwater will now have a breadth gauge and will take additional damage over time. They've adjusted the balance of several weapons, increased the crossbow reload speed by 35%. The Tommy gun has been removed from care packages and becomes a world spawn. That's an interesting one. It now supports attachments such as a silencer, vertical foregrip and magazines. Horizontal recoil scale has been clamped for greater consistency for weapons with high horizontal recoils. You may now holster grenades by switching to another weapon or unarmed state unless the grenades have already been cooked. The firing modes of weapons will now remain consistent with the firing mode that was selected after dropping a weapon and picking it back up again. That's a good one. I like that one. You know, you drop something and you've left it in automatic, now you're going to pick it up and it will still be in automatic. Adjusted the collision damage of motorcycles. For actions, recoil animations are updated for all weapons. They've adjusted animations and balance of throwables, decreased view time for the flash grenade to 2.5 seconds, increased the lethal and injury ranges of the frag grenade, improved the animations for throwing grenades to allow for increased speed and more accurate trajectories, but decreased visual trajectory distances throwables. Cooking of grenades is now manual, default key set to R. You may now toggle the throwing mode between overhead and roll, default key set to right mouse click. The movement speed of a character affects the trajectory of throwables. Improve leaning animation, leaning on the left side to expose less of the body. Sprinting will now no longer prevent regeneration of breadth gauge and will stop leaning state automatically, and you may change your stance while reloading without cancelling the reload. That again is a good one. You know, you move and your reload's cancelled, it's a pain in the ass, so I'm a bit glad when that one's gone. For sounds, they've added new sounds when using consumables, adjusted the audible ranges of reloading and window breaking, added a new sound for collisions between vehicles and characters, added a new sound for the animation of removing the grenade safety pin. I really want to know what it sounds like to run into somebody in a car now. I've got to hear that. For bug fixes, characters that fall or glitch underneath the map will now be reset to the ground automatically. Fixed a bug where FOV slider value would be improperly set inside of the vehicles in first person mode regardless of the FOV slider setting. Fixed a bug resulting in clients freezing when changing controls in the options. Corrected the descriptions of certain weapon attachments. Fixed animation bugs of other characters after reconnecting to a game. Fixed several bugs relating to the spectator mode. Fixed a bug of the breadth gauge appearing at 0 at the start of the game. Reloading will now cancel if a character loots an item with right click during reload. Fixed a bug with the honking sound remaining persistent when opening a map or performing other actions while honking. You may no longer set different features on a single keybind in the options. Fixed a bug of the magazine position on the weapon in the inventory screen when switching to a different weapon. And to end, they have revised the BP methodology to prevent BP farming from idle users, as we've already spoken about. Added first player leaderboards for all regions with first player access, and NVIDIA Shadow Play Highlights now works with Windows 7 and Windows 8, however if Windows Aero is disabled it may not work. And now I can draw a breath. So yeah, there you have a raft of changes coming in. We are getting a new weapon, which sounds pretty good. I'm looking forward to using that. Some good changes there. Some minor tweaks that are going to change the game up a little bit. Being able to roll your grenades instead of throwing them. That's an interesting one. You know, not having your reload cancelled when you switch stance. That is a good one as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The foggy weather, is it going to impact performance? We just don't know right now. We're going to have to wait and see when that comes out to see exactly how it affects performance. Now this update is going to be rolling out to the test server today, which is Tuesday. When it actually gets released to us, I don't know. They did say that they wanted to make sure that it was tested properly before releasing it. So will we see it this week? I hope we will. I'm assuming that they've done a fair bit of internal testing before rolling this out to the test server. So all being well, we might see this update this week. I'm hugely looking forward to the foggy maps. I know it isn't going to come round that much, but it does look really atmospheric. It looks quite spooky. I'd really like to see that kind of map, but with like maybe a nighttime kind of theme. It'd be good to have a nighttime themed map on this game. But yeah, we'll see. Will it affect performance? We just don't know right now. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I've got to give a big thumbs up to the development team. You know, this update has been... it's getting on for almost a month since the last one, I think it was. So we've been waiting patiently. You know, they've gone away from the weekly updates, which was fine. I think we all were a little bit annoyed with that, but we understood why they wanted to do that. You know, they were implementing changes that were breaking the game for a little bit, and they were having to scramble to fix them. This way, we know that it's going to come out and it's going to be a lot more stable this time. So it'll be interesting to see how people react to this update. As always, if you have any thoughts or feelings on this or any comments, just put them in the comment section down below. I will reply to you as soon as possible. And yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.